Welcome to another awesome episode of the Model Cars Houston podcast. I'm your host, James. If you're looking for a place to get a deeper understanding about the hobby from all the leading industry experts, collectors, and beyond, be sure to subscribe to get those notifications. Today, I have a super special treat for you. He is a car enthusiast who has been passionate about automobiles for a very long time. He's the director of a little-known brand called Tarmac Works. Today, Tarmac Works has become a leading brand in the diecast industry, and its products are highly sought after by collectors and car enthusiasts around the world. In this episode, we'll talk about Felix's journey, his inspiration behind Tarmac Works, the challenges he's faced in the industry, and his plans for the future of the company. So, without further ado, let's give a warm virtual welcome to Mr. Felix Kwong. Hey, Felix, how you doing?
Hey James, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Good, awesome. Yeah, things are pretty busy for you so far, right?
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy year already. It's only March, so yeah, it's
Oh
been
yeah,
pretty busy.
absolutely. Well, yeah, I guess we can jump right in and why don't we
Sure.
just start off with just a little bit about your background and how Tarmac Works got started?
So I was born in Hong Kong, but when I was 12, my family moved to Los Angeles and then eventually to New York. So I spent about 12 years in the States, and then worked there for a couple of years. Came back, but I've always been I've model cars my life basically, since ever since I was probably 3 or 4 or maybe even smaller. So that was the go-to toy. I don't have any brothers and sisters, so I always kind of pick up the cars to go out with my parents. My mom would play mahjong, and then I would just sit, yeah, quietly in the
Sure.
corner,
Oh.
just playing with motor cars basically. And I collected mostly Tomica, and then a lot of
Mm.
Matchbox, a little bit of Hot Wheels as well. So the 64 scale has always been my thing. I did collect other scales a little bit, but at a young age, it was just too expensive for me to collect those. And so, yeah, that's how I was in the motor car, um, sort of hobby. And then it started out as a
Mm.
hobby, and then I started selling a little bit on eBay, and then eventually started the Box Toys, which was a retail shop in Hong Kong, and then also an online shop. And then in 2014, eventually starting my own brand, Tarmac Works. So even
Mm.
before that, we were doing. I was trying to do quite a number of sort of special editions here and there with different brands. So that's how kind of the manufacturing, the producing part started.
So how did you come up with the name Tarmac Works? What exactly does that describe?
Yeah, so yeah, so when I started thinking about a brand, I was trying to think of things or words that would kind of relate to cars, right? And obviously you have a
Sure.
lot of the different generic names that a lot of people have used before, but somehow this word tarmac always I kind of always hear it. Especially like
Uh-huh.
when on an airplane, like the pilot would
Yep.
be like, oh, we're touching down on the tarmac. So I was thinking, well, tarmac is basically is like the road,
Sure.
is always connected to the cars. Road do need cars to run on, and cars do
Right.
need roads. So they are kind of intertwined with each other. So I thought, oh, that's and it sounds like a pretty nice name. It's short, it's not very big, so just sounded something cool. And then added works because I want it to be a number of different things. I don't want it to be just
Mm.
cars. It could be,
Mhm.
it's sort of like DreamWorks. So basically, you're working on a ton of things.
Ah, right, right, right.
It could be a number of variety of things. So that's how sort of the name came about.
I think do they mention tarmac when it comes to like at racing events and stuff like that? Do they ever mention the word tarmac?
Not too much, actually, a little
Oh, okay.
bit,
Maybe
but
I
not
thought
too
they
much.
did use that terminology in that too. Okay, okay.
Yeah, a little bit, I
Interesting.
think. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's a good history. Oh, you were mentioning that, you were overseas and then you came over here and then uh you're back over there now in Hong Kong,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's right. That's right.
How do you navigate the cultural differences with the different cast? Because Tarmac has a huge library of different makes, models. I mean, it's almost, you're dipping into almost everything. So how do you decide what gets made, and how do you segregate between, trying to appease the Western side and the Eastern side and all that stuff?
That's probably the hardest part of not my job, but the whole team, is basically deciding which cars to do, because you can only do a limited number of cars, obviously, every year. The tooling is a costly investment, of course. So we just sit together every month to discuss in terms of which are the cars that we would like, and then we do it in a very democratic way. So we all get a vote. I only get one vote. I don't get more than one.
Yeah.
So it's a very democratic way. Of course, every year there will be maybe one or two that I would push for a bit harder, as sort of like my pet peeve or whatever it is we call it. For example, like the Mitsubishi Starion was one of my favorite cars as a child. So I was pushing that for a number of years. Actually, it wasn't so. There are cars that I would personally kind of push for, but 95% of the time we really do it based on a vote, and we look at. So we don't, of course, we don't look at it as a personal preference. So we have to also look at what we like, what we feel the market would like on a more global basis, in Asia, in the US. We've been growing quite a bit in the US for the past 2-3 years. So that definitely comes into play when we're deciding on which cars, and that's why you've been seeing some Dodge models. We had some, we had a Mustang before. So we do want to try a bit of cars that can touch the U.S. market, but there will be also cars that are only, let's say, JDM, very JDM, like a Chaser or like a Mark II that we're doing. That's only kind of appeal to the Asian market. So we really try to mix it up, and having a variety is great, but at the same time is also a headache, because you're touching on so many categories that you kind of don't know which one to really focus on. So we don't really have one particular focus, from like vans to supercars to now F1s. We're trying to do anything that car enthusiasts would like, basically.
So the ideas for the different makes and models, does everyone just bring some to the table, or does somebody come up with it and then you vote? Like, who's the one in charge of coming up with the different makes and models?
So we do it also by so everybody comes in with some models and suggestions.
I got you.
We do tick also. We try to categorize a bit. Like, for example, even with race cars, you have your Le Mans car, you have your rally car, you have your touring cars, and then you have your JDMs, and then you have your European cars. European cars, you can, and then you do it by year, like 80s, 90s. The modern cars, and then the super cars of the world. So there are different categories, and we try to mix it up, where we're not doing just JDMs for that quarter, or just European cars. But we try to create a good mix. But everybody just brings in ideas, basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just curious who comes up with the ideas. That's pretty cool. I think that makes it that brings a lot of good mixed ideas to the table. Then I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, the great thing that I've been very fortunate is the team in our product team. All of them are car experts. They love cars. Everybody has. So everybody has some ideas in terms of what cars are great, or what cars haven't been done before, or things like that. So I got a bunch of car experts in my team, so that we do have a lot of ideas coming across. So
that definitely helps.
It does.
Speaking of different people bringing things to the table outside of your team, congratulations to your recent collaboration with John Seaball. I believe that was.
Yeah, well, yes, for sure.
Yeah. So why do you think it's important to have collaborations with different people? Is that why? Because I've noticed that. I know you've done collaborations with other people as well. So I'm kind of curious, when it comes to a brand, why is it important that you guys, bring other people into the mix?
No, for me is the big thing is just creating synergy with different people, creating sort of magic with creating a spark with others, similar minded people, where we're bringing in a lot of ideas. The beauty of collaboration is you kind of each party, each person is kind of bringing in something new to the table, so that
Correct.
I always say, cars are just cars. Everybody can do the same car, but is really trying to find a little bit of excitement or spark within that. No matter it's creating a livery or putting a brand design on a certain car,
Sure.
and just bringing some sort of excitement to that particular car, to make it a bit different and unique. And so that's part of one of the sort of most fun part of my job is to actually talk to the collaborators and sort of do a brainstorming, a jamming session with them to kind of think about what can we do together, what kind of exciting things we can do together. And that has been fun. Like it's also like a very personal thing. It's that it's really
absolutely,
fun to do. Yeah.
And I think it can bring some outside of the box ideas, maybe even like things that maybe you guys don't think about as a core team. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. And John Seba obviously comes up with some amazing stuff. So it's like a pool of ideas and designs, I think, within his arsenal.
No, he super creative guy, and because he can basically create any car under his imagination, right? Because he can do illustrations and renderings and things. So that kind of opens up even more as far as it's not just sort of limiting it to the design of the livery of the car, but actually creating a completely new car, for example. So there could be so many things that we can play around with, and he's been absolute joy to work with. Yes.
Oh my God, he must be so excited to see some of his designs come to real life. Has he ever done that before? Brought real diecast to life?
No, he hasn't. So this is his kind of first time. So he has collected diecast cars, cars, but yeah, so it's his first time working with a brand, manufacturing things that he created, basically. So yeah, it's I can't wait. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Oh, speaking off of that, the opposite side of diecast, what are some of the challenges that, I guess maybe in Tarmac work specific, what are some of the challenges that you guys face as a diecast company?
Well, tons every day. You're dealing with anything from dealing with licensors, getting new licensing, or just continuing the relationship with the licensors. You're dealing with competition is always is a thing where in the last, I would say, 2 or 3 years, the competition has got, especially in the 64 scale, has gotten really fierce. Everybody just coming out with a lot of stuff, and oftentimes picking the same cars at the same time. So while you want to hit the market in a very swift manner, you also don't want to rush things to bring the quality down and all those things. So and then working with a lot of the resellers and try to develop different markets. So yeah, tons of various challenges. The good thing is, as we learn through the years, we have kind of built up a little bit of experience. So we're like kind of in the middle now. We're not new, but we're not a company like Auto Art or Mini Champs that have been doing this for a very long number of years. So we're kind of in the middle. So still learning tons of stuff as we go, but there's still a lot of challenges ahead in terms of I think competition would probably be the biggest thing. But now we're gotten to a point where we're just thinking about what we are doing and how we can make it really better, rather than looking too much, paying too much attention to the competitors, because you got new product announcements coming out kind of every day, so it's very hard to kind of keep up with that. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, focusing on your own and just doing your thing it gives more attention to that, and so you can put out a good
Yeah,
product,
that's right.
good
Yeah,
diverse product. Okay, so speaking on that, you mentioned licensing, and this is like a
yeah,
boilerplate question I ask all the brands so
sure.
far. Why is it important? Because there's a big debate in the community, and I'm sure maybe you might be familiar with some of it, but it's brought out some,
Yeah.
I don't care about licenses. And some are like, dude, license is everything, because then, people are doing their due diligence. What is Tarmac's work stance? Because I know Tarmac's works gets a lot of licenses. What is y'all's stance on the license?
Well, as a brand, the licensing, of course, is important because just from
Mhm.
a business point of view, uh, in order to be able to have your product sold on a global basis, just getting into
Mhm.
different countries and things like that. For example, Japan is quite strict, and the U.S. is quite strict on those things. So you
Mhm.
do need the licensing in order to sell on those grounds. So I think it's a matter of course, there are tons of companies in China uh,
Yep.
that manufactures cars that don't have the licensing,
Sure.
but they're at the same time they're limited by um, the number of countries or number of areas that they can sell in. So
Oh, I
from a
see.
brand perspective, we do want that licensing, and the other part is you're getting in most cases, you're getting official support from that brand because you are paying a licensing fee.
Mm,
So, for
mhm,
example, when we work
mhm.
with Pagani or Koenigsegg, they are giving you their 3D data. So you're getting the most accurate
Oh,
data
right.
that you can get to reproduce that car. Otherwise, it's
Mhm.
going to be more I would say, an interpretation of a certain car,
Sure,
which
sure.
so the accuracy will be hindered by that. So,
Oh, yeah, that's a good
but
point. Yeah, that's a good
from a
point.
collector's standpoint, I think is a tougher argument because
Right.
it kind of doesn't matter like as a collector, of course, because you're just buying that car. But of
Mhm.
course, if going a little bit deeper is that you're kind of respecting the brands or the people who actually are working with official data, official brand. You are respecting that we are going through that process, or brands are going through that
Mhm.
process to
Mhm.
produce the most accurate car out there rather than an interpretation. So yeah, I think the non-licensing stuff is always going to be there. For 64 scale, it's been kind of outrageous, to be
Sure.
honest. But
Yeah.
again, I think for us, we kind of keep that sort of separated now, and we don't really. We sometimes just laugh at it. It's like, okay, they're doing that, but
Yeah, sure.
all we can do is just again just to try to do the best that we can on our cars, make it as accurate as possible, and again having that official support. Like for example, for Pagani, they actually have our cars at their museum, at their factory tour.
Oh,
So
wow.
after people going through the factory tour, when they visit their factory, they can see our cars there.
Oh,
So you're never going to get that with a non-licensed
sure, sure, yep.
brand. So
Oh, yeah.
those are the sort of the little perks and making it official. That that's to the brand. So yeah, we're more trying to build a brand rather than, okay, let's just make some
Mhm,
cars and
mhm,
just sell it
mhm.
really quickly. But because the brand value also stands for something, at least in my books, it does. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So if you're collaborating with the brands and you're getting the licenses, then you can get in, you're getting the raw data. To me,
Mhm.
that tells me that you can probably try to build the most highest quality of that cast. So one of the things that I think all brands suffer from this is just QC
Mhm.
issues in general. What does
Sure.
Tarmac Works do to battle QC issues? Like, what is their stance on it? How do they prevent it the best that they can? Because I
Yeah.
think in reality, you're going to have some QC issue that's going to slip by, and then somebody's going to get
Sure.
it, and then somebody's going to be on the internet. Oh my God, I got,
Of course.
but it's hard to
Yeah.
justify, what happened. But what is Tarmac
Yeah.
doing to try to mitigate that?
So we in especially in the beginning of our journey, we've been faced with a lot of QC issues, especially early on. So it's always a big part of what we're trying to do. So at for now, we're doing a lot of just getting data, getting feedback from customers. One is customer service, is post sales, just handling those. So making sure when those QC issues do come up, we have a very swift way of contacting that person or having them contact us, and then we get a replacement shipped to them as soon as possible. And I think we've done a pretty good job at that now. We're even going out to different groups and things, like whenever people post a car with QC issues, we actually proactively contact them. And I don't think there are a lot of brands, not just diecast, I think out in the world, where you have an issue with the product and that brand actually contacts you proactively. Sure. I don't think a lot of brands don't do that. So we've been doing that. So just to get the replacements out very quickly. But from our side, we do monthly reports with the factory, just looking at, summarizing what we have seen in terms of quality issues, and then we report back. Some are common issues, some are very specific issues to that particular tooling, for example. So the factory now, after a few years, has gotten more used to looking at what the problems is trying to solve it. We have QC stickers on the car, so that we QC number 2, so we know which person, for example, in the factory line is actually. I see. So we hold that person accountable, but we also want to sort of train that person to say, look, there's some issues here. How can we fix it? So in terms of, to be brutally honest, in the past probably couple years, we've been seeing fewer and fewer QC reports or issues coming back. There will be some when you're producing thousands of cars, because I always say this is not like a Coca-Cola factory where you're producing the same can, millions of them.
Just the one.
Yeah, exactly. And then the manufacturing process is not just machinery. If it's all just machinery, then of course the QC problem shouldn't even exist. But there are a lot of intricate parts within the production process where it is by hand. You're putting the decorations by hand. You're stamping the hot stamp by hand. You're putting a lot of stuff by hand. The glues by hand sometimes. So there's bound to be QC issues, but it's a matter of, can we catch them early on so that we can put those aside. So I think it's still a work in progress, but I think we're proud to say that it's improved vastly over the past few years, but there's still a lot of room to improve on. But it's always a thing that we definitely focus on, and we look at it every week in our meetings. Is an integral part of the meeting. So it's something that it's very important to us as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. As long as you guys are actively doing something to
for sure
plan for it, research it, make sure you're doing the best that you can, definitely. And I would like to say, and this is not a Model Cars Houston thing, but big thanks to you guys. Whenever something does arise, people like us that are resellers, distributors, if we get customers that come back, hey, this spoiler fell off or something like that, there has never, ever been an issue with Tarmac Works replacing that. We try to. Big thanks to you guys for supporting. Thank you for supporting the resellers also.
No, of course, because again, I think that goes along with the brand values, and I think I think collectors understand there will be issues and things like that, but I think as long as the replacement is kind of hassle free, then they will feel like, okay, even if the problem does come up sometimes, then the replacement is very easy, and it's not like every time you have to go through a whole process of explaining blah 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 and this and that. But we just take a couple of photos, and then we look at it as, okay, fine, and then we'll just send out and replace it.
Absolutely. So that's good stuff. Talking about the brand a little bit more, 64 scale is like you mentioned, the biggest most popular scale out there. Tarmac Works, I believe, has 3 different types, or maybe it's 4 different types. You got the global, the road, the hobby, and parts, I think. What are the
And then Hobby
differences between
Plus is the new one. Yeah.
Hobby Plus?
Hobby Plus is the
Oh wow.
Lancia 037 where you can open the bonnet
Oh, that's the
to
latest
see
one.
the engine.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
latest one. That's
So
correct.
what is the
That's
difference
correct.
between what does each one specialize in exactly?
Sure. So let me explain a little bit. So Hobby Plus again is sort of our top line in terms of 64 scale.
Oh,
It is like a hobby car, mostly racing cars, but
sure.
it does have a feature where you can open one of the parts. So in the case of the Lancia, is the back bonnet so that you can
I
actually look
remember,
at the
yeah.
engine details inside. The engine is painted, so it adds a bit of details. And then you got the Hobby 64, which we actually started with in when we started 64 scale, and mostly that one is race cars. A lot of complicated livery. You have your brake discs, and
Yeah.
then in the interior usually has a little bit of details as well. It could be seat belts decal, it could be other things, but just a little bit, more details. The wheels don't necessarily have to roll. This is the big part of hobby, is that because we do want that kind of stance where it sits really low for some of the modified cars like an RWB. In terms of wheels rolling, it doesn't necessarily roll. Some of them do roll, like the GT3 cars do
Sure.
roll.
Yeah.
But again, with the brake disc, sometimes is also making it hard to roll. And then the Global 64, which is the I would say mostly road cars based, or primarily road cars, where you're getting just the paper box with a blister. Where in hobby you're getting the acrylic cases and the base, so it comes with a nicer package for displays. For global is a little bit with more like you're going to take it out, you're going to play with it. All the cars roll. Most of them would have a metal base, metal chassis, to so that it weighs a little bit heavier when you play with it. Again, mostly road cars. There will be some that has liveries and things like that, and then there will be accessories, which is the rims, the dioramas, all those things are the other parts, basically, all the parts that you can actually play around, put around the cars that you can, play around with, take photographs with, and things like that. So we got those, and then we got the other scale, which is the 43 scale. So we call it the Hobby 43. 18 scales we no longer do. We started with 18 actually. We've done 18 in the first probably couple years or 3 years, but we have kind of stopped in the 18 scale. So only 64 and 43 scales at the moment.
Oh, okay. So you started with the 18. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, our first model was an 18 scale resin. I don't think we've done any diecast from our own resin 18, and then it was a Honda Civic EG6. So
the race car one.
the race car one. We also had a couple of road livery like this.
Okay.
Liveries, yeah.
So it looks like you're still holding on to the 43 scale, though. Why do you think
Yes.
43 still pretty popular, and where is that popular? Because from me on the Western side in the US, 43 scale, man, it's just not as popular as obviously 64, but 43 just seems like an oddball size for some people. I don't know what it is, but what is it that you can tell us as to why 43 scale is a good scale to collect? What's the advantage of 43, I guess? I mean, there's some obvious ones, but
43 scale I think is still very popular in Europe. In China a little bit, in Asia not so much, to be really honest, a bit, but not super much. And in Japan it used to be, and still is a pretty dominant scale. I think 64 now it has surpassed it, but it's gotten to a point where 43 scale is in a tough space, I would say, because of the rise in the 64 scale and the detailing of the 64 scale. Because in the olden days, it used to be just Tomica, Matchbox, and Hot Wheels. 64 scale has always been seen as more of like a toy to be played with. But then when Kyosho and when Tomica introduced the limited vintage line and all those, like the details really stepped up. And then you have brands like ourselves, Mini GT, and all these other brands where we're doing a more premium level of 64. Then you get a sense of wait a second, the 64 scale, the detailing is catching up to the 43 scale.
Yes, almost
yeah. And the pricing is a fraction of the 43 scale. So 43 scale now, especially in Asia, you're seeing just more resin models where it can retail for 100, 150 US, something like that, where you're getting
like ignition
a
model,
64 car for 1/10 of that price. So in terms of for the collectors, based on the monthly budget, where you're spending $150 to buy one 43 scale, or do you spend it on 10 or 8 to 10 64 scales? And obviously the answer is really simple. And also I think the variety in the 64 scale has grown so much. Like you're getting tons of cars in 64 scale where you haven't before. So the 43 scale is in a tough spot. Why are we still doing it? Is that we still see there is a market out there, and we're doing mainly diecast. So the retail price comes to around 40, 45 US. So it's only maybe 3 times as much as our 64 scale, or 2.5 times. So it's still it represents a pretty affordable kind of a range where you're getting, of course, a bigger car. It's definitely nicer to display it on the cabinet, on your table. So we still think that there's still potential there. Is it going to be this having that same impact as a 64 scale? I don't think so. But yeah, exactly. That's a 43 scale. But there's some now it's gotten to a point where the role has reversed, where especially in diecast 43 scale, there are a lot of cars that haven't been done in that space. So we still see some potential in it. We don't put a lot of focus into it, but we do still want to do maybe two to 4 new toolings per year, just to have that representation in the market, just to have that space. But it is a challenging scale right now.
For sure. In talking about the 64 scale stuff, I'm sure yourself, you've seen it slowly evolve over time. And I'm kind of curious, we're in 2023 now. It looks like a lot of the diecasts are moving into the opening compartments and things like this, kind of like the stuff that, we typically see in diecasts, but in 64 scale, which is amazing. Do you see 64? How do you think 64 scale is going to evolve from here? Do you think there's something else that people are going to come up with, or is that still a secret? I'm just curious. How can you make this even better?
Yeah, exactly. I think every brand or factory is always going to try to do something a little bit more, just to have creating the uniqueness, or the just have a competitive edge. So I do see there's a big possibility of kind of separating the really ultra premium, where you're doing the resin models, and models with the opening parts, with the engines and all that stuff. And then you see a more sort of common, like Mini GT, like our global scale, like the Shukos, where for maybe 10, 12, 13 US dollars retail price, you're getting pretty decent, really good quality of cars, but at a price where you can basically is pretty affordable. So I do see those two ends, kind of the two markets there, growing a bit more. But I think for the really ultra premium is challenging, because you're looking at 30, 40, or maybe sometimes even more dollars US. And then now the decision comes where it's getting closer to the 43 scale now. So does it make sense for it to still collect that? And so it's always up to the collectors, to be really honest. It's always driven by the market. So while we can step up those things. The more details you add into it, the more cost it'll go into it. It's just a basic math. So so how far can one push that envelope is hard while balancing the price. So it's going to be challenging, I think, for the very high end 64s.
I guess we just have to wait and see what's going to be next. Maybe we'll have like little mini RC 64 cars or something.
Yeah, flying around.
Yeah, flying around. When it comes to the creation of a diecast, especially 64 scale, what is the general top-down like setup? How does it begin? Okay, let's just say you've already decided, all right, we're gonna make this Toyota Supra diecast. What happens next after that?
So once the car has been decided, then a lot of research actually goes into the next step, where you're looking at you're finding different photos for the car, the 3D for the car. Does the car feature different rims, for example? Does it have variants, like, does it have a rear wing? Does it have a front splitter? Does it have side skirts? So there could be a lot of different variations to that body shape, so that we have to kind of find all those things. And then it goes into to the illustration. So if you already have a 3D, then you work it back into the scale that you need it to be. In our case, a 64 scale, and then you create the different sort of variations with the different rims, things like that. And then we do a printout of that, a 3D printout, just to look at the shape, the assembly part of it. Does this and this part fit together? Once that's done, then you go to the metal tooling, also the plastic tooling, and that's where the investment comes for diecast, at least. The tooling comes, and then you also look at it. There could be things that you need to modify, the fitting and all those things. Then you put in the color decorations, and that's what we call the decorated sample. And that's when you see usually when the announcements are made, where this is the new tooling, it has the colors in it. It's not the final sample, it still has maybe a little bit of flaws in it. And then pre-order announcements, everybody kind of pre-order, make your orders, and then we produce it, and then usually a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months later, then the car is released. So that's basically the journey that a model would go through before hitting the market.
I know that some of the cars have a card in it. It's got like a loose card, and it's got a number on there. Sometimes it'll be some 1,408, something like that. What does that number mean? And in addition to that question, when it comes to production, how do you decide how many pieces to produce? Because obviously it's not that many. It's probably a couple thousand or something like that. But I'm curious, what does the card mean, and how do you decide?
The number is basically is representing the number of cars that is being produced. So from 0001 to whatever that ending number is actually the quantity. But of course, nobody actually out in the market, nobody knows what that end number is.
Correct, exactly.
It could be 500, it could be 5,000. Nobody knows.
Oh, I see.
But you're getting what we wanted to create is you actually getting a unique number. It could be a lucky number that you might run into. Like, for example, if it's the Datsun 510, do you get the 510 number? Some Chinese people like the number 8, so do you get number 888 or something like that? So, but at least it's a number. It created uniqueness of it. It's also to let the collectors know, hey, this is a limited run. This is the only run that we're doing. We're not doing 2 runs. So you're never going to see 2 number 510, for example. So
correct.
You're getting a unique certificate of that particular car. In terms of the quantity for each car, we try to keep that I wouldn't say a secret, but it's something that we don't really want to reveal, because of the competition. But it is determined by the market. So as a reseller, you get the pre-order sheets from us,
Yes.
and then you put in the numbers. So everybody kind of put in the numbers in a window of about 2 weeks. We get all the numbers and we look at the total numbers. We add on our sort of internal samples. It could be for our online shop,
buffer.
and then we determine what that final number is. And we never really produce. Let's say, let's just make 500 more to keep in the warehouse, and let's see if people will buy later. We rarely do that. Because we actually don't prefer to have so much stock sitting. One is costly to have that stock.
Definitely.
And second is we don't want so many cars floating in the market. We want that limited sort of rarity of it. So it's really determined by all those things. There are some cases where we will announce the number where we predetermine that number, and those usually are special editions where we're making it for a certain event, for example. So we don't have that time to open orders so we have to really decide on that number very quickly. It's like, let's just do 2,000, 3,000, whatever it is. And usually when we do that, we'll announce that number, 2,500 for this particular event. And that just means that, we capped it so that the factory can actually move on, because otherwise they have to wait for our numbers in order to produce. So
wouldn't that create more hype? Like, oh, hey guys, it's a special event model, the 1,000 pieces. I feel like that would create more like want and demand, like rarity.
Yeah, so that's why I think for the special editions, we do want to announce the numbers so that this is the number that everybody is kind of trying to shoot for, to try to grab. And again, that makes the special edition more special, is because it is a certain number and not
very unique,
not 5,000, 6,000 or whatever. So yeah.
Can you give us a little explanation about the Tarmac Works Owners Club?
Sure. The Owners Club is basically a membership program that we've created. And it's not just only for our online store. For our online store, you do get discounts. So you get 10% discounts on everything that we put on there. You do get a 24-hour early bird kind of pre-sales window in terms of those. So, for example, last night we had a release at 10 p.m. here local time. So all the members can log in to our site, and they will see all the cars there. So you get first dip to the cars, basically. So especially for special editions, sometimes you need that in order to secure your car. Also, we do some special things at events. So every car comes with a card, a membership card. So when you bring that membership card, you do get savings, or you do get a sort of a priority membership window to buy certain cars. So the membership comes with the membership card, and it comes with a special edition car. So when you buy that car, you get that membership. So you're not just paying for a certain sort of membership, you're getting a moto car at the same time, but you pay a little bit extra just to get the savings, just to get the priority windows and all those things. So, and we do, I think started from last year, we created a few what we call the moms, the members only models. So those models are only available for the members, and they're usually very limited runs, like 888 pieces. And so members can get them. The resellers can get them. They can order it from the site, but so we try to do that now. Probably maybe I would say three to maximum 4 cars per year that is only for the members, just to give another incentive. It's basically a loyalty program where we're not trying to kind of make a lot of profit out of this membership, rather than just stay with the brand. You're gonna get some exclusive stuff. The savings that you buy will make up for that membership kind of fee already, and you're getting a special edition car as well. So it's just creating a community, creating
absolutely
brand loyalty to Tarmac Works. So yeah,
exactly. No, I think that's a great thing to have something like that. Actually, you're one of the few that has something like that. I don't know if any of the other brands has a club like that. Everything else, everyone else is
Hot
well,
Wheels.
yeah, Hot Wheels. It's like the Red Line Club.
They have
Similar
a
to
big,
this.
they have a huge one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So okay, this is a two-part question. You ready?
Sure.
Of all the casts that you've done, which has been the biggest accomplishment? And what I mean by that is like, man, it was super hard, a lot of jumping through this and that to get it done. And at the end, you were like, man, I am so happy that that was finally released. And then the other question is, what is something that you're looking forward to making that you haven't made yet? Maybe you'll make it, maybe you'll never make it. But what is something that you wish you could make? If it's top secret, then you don't have to say it. If you, yeah, sorry, it's getting harder and harder now. It's getting...
The first part of the question, the biggest accomplishment, I would say there are two, if I can choose two. The first one I would say is the Ferrari models, just because of the Ferrari licensing is just super tough to get, and it's something that it was always kind of in my mind even if it's possible, and then just going through the different talks, the different approaches, pitches, and it was a period of probably I would say 3-4 years in before we got the okay, and then finally, getting that model and having it on my hands, and it was a special feeling just to have a Ferrari, just to say that we have actually made a Ferrari model. It's something very special. The second one would be I think the F1s, the AMG, especially AMG F1s. Because again, I wasn't a huge F1 fans until I watched Drive to Survive, and then like a lot of people. But the F1s is a different animal to a sedan or to a sports car. There's so many intricate parts on the side parts, on the wings, on the front end, and it's a new and it was a new sort of try for us, and it's also again a huge blessing to get the licensing for that one. And you can make a Lewis Hamilton car, and that's pretty.
Oh yeah, that's pretty
special.
Pretty epic.
And the first version came out yesterday. It was released to the market, so it's finally out at least for the AMG. We had done in McLaren before, and again, just holding that in my hands was pretty special.
For sure.
In terms of something that we haven't done that we would love to do, that's a really
or maybe you're like something you would like to get made. Maybe your department would be like, no, we're not making that, Felix, but but something that you would love to see get made outside of the Stereon, which you already accomplished that one.
I think it's more the car like brands or models that I grew up with that meant something to me more than the types of cars, like a motorcycle or something like that. I've never been a big motorcycle guy, but would love to see that as well. But I would give a preview, I would say, of one of the brands that it's not something that we own. My dad did like that car. We test drove it. We eventually didn't buy it, and this was when I was probably 8-9 years old, something like that. And it's a Saab model. Yes.
Oh wow.
It's not something that is completely very niche. It's not something that.
Sure.
But people in my age, I would feel they have a special feeling towards this very this very car, and so a Saab would be something that I would love to do. Let's see.
Let's see. Well, certain communities, when they finally see a diecast come out of their make and model, oh my God, I gotta buy that. It's like finally Finally, they made something
Yes,
for
finally
my
they're getting
making
some love from the brands. Yeah. No,
exactly.
so
They don't want to.
same with the Volvos. I think the Volvos we have a very
Yes.
there's a very
Yep.
big
You guys
Volvo
put those out. Yeah.
community, and when we did the first Volvo 850, the wagon, and then eventually the 240 turbo, they loved it, and they started messaging us and giving us ideas, and it's great. It's just
Yeah.
there's and then I think similar, not I think not as big as Volvo, but Saab, I do think there's a following
For
where
sure.
people love that car, and I've always have a fondness to it and a special sort of connection to it. So yeah, I want to make that happen. So
I think every make and model has some specific. There's a niche for every single make and model. I feel like me. I don't know
yeah,
if you know, Felix. I'm a big minivan guy. So if you can make any minivan stuff, I'll be happy. You've already made the
sure.
high ace, but you know,
We made the high A's. We had the I don't know if it's a minivan or the new
the,
the
the
older version, the Dodge
the
van that
Dodge,
we've
the
just
Dodge
done,
van. Yeah, yeah. I see it
which
coming,
is
Felix. Thank
interesting.
you. Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, but that's also a part where it's not getting a lot of love. The sort of the family
Correct.
cars and
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. Why would you have a soccer mom as a diecast? Well, some people might get offended. They're like, "Hey, you making a diecast of a minivan, but you can't make a mini diecast of a Saab. What's going on here?" Some people
That's
get.
right.
Okay, so we've been all live. We've been doing this for at least 50 minutes now. I've got some closing questions.
Sure.
If you were to give a introductory guy some advice into collecting these types of diecasts, not Hot Wheels. Let's say he's like, oh man, I want to get something better now. Hot Wheels is too saturated.
Yeah.
I want something with better details, whatever. What would you tell this person to convince them? Look, check out this stuff from Tarmac Works. What would you tell them to try and convince them? What are they
I
getting?
think for the cars that you're getting in the market now, you're getting, even though you're paying a bit more premium compared to a Hot Wheels, you're getting a lot of details. You're getting tons of details in terms of in the old days, all the rims are the same, right? Tomicas, Hot
Oh,
Wheels, the wheels are always the same wheel for every single car. There could
sure,
be a
sure.
couple of varieties, but they're for pretty generic wheels. But
Mhm.
for premium cars like our global line, you're getting not just one rim style. You're getting maybe two or even the three different rim styles, which actually is the same as the real car.
Mhm.
So you're getting a very accurate model with a lot of different parts, like the front
Mhm.
lights, the back lights, are all different
Mhm.
separated
Mhm.
parts, the seats and things like that. So you're getting tons of details where it actually does justify that cost. And I think the
Mhm.
the big part is, now with social media such a huge part of our lives, posting pictures is something that everybody loves to do. Taking pictures with their cars, putting it in dioramas. It could be taking it out to the beach or
Mhm.
to the road somewhere, taking a nice
Mhm.
photo, forest, for
Mhm.
example,
Sure.
and then posting a picture of it. You want that car to look really realistic. Otherwise, it's just putting a
Exactly.
toy
Exactly.
on
Sure.
on
Sure.
on that. So
Exactly.
I think that has really added to the fun of collecting, where you're just
Mhm.
getting um, a very authentic sort of replica of that car. And then also, I think the selection is huge. Where again, in the old days, the Tomicas of the world, the Hot Wheels of the world, they're offering so many different cars where the premiums are not. But now it isn't the case anymore. You're getting loads of cars, different variety of cars, classic cars, modern cars, race cars, road cars, what have you. So you have such a huge selection where once you get the problem with collecting sometimes is when you do start it, you do want to have stuff to collect. Otherwise, you're not really collecting. So there's a huge sea out there for you to collect. So as long as you just start with the first couple of ones, just buying cars you love, then you
Mhm.
start to expand that collection into cars that maybe you normally wouldn't have looked at before. But now, because there's so much variety out there, that you can, okay, maybe I start collecting, I don't know, touring cars, which um, GT3 cars or F1s, for example. So
Mhm.
there's so much variety out there that makes collecting really, really fun. So that's my
Absolutely.
pitch.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think we're gonna get a ton of sales from that one for sure. A ton of pre-orders coming in. Don't worry. Okay, so I think that's all I had. Is there, how can people find you? How can people find you? Like, what are the, social media? What do you got?
Sure. So we have an Instagram,
Instagram.
tarmac.works
Mhm.
is the handle name, but you type in Tarmac Works, you should find us, and then on Facebook as well. We do update a lot. I think we are one of the probably most active brands out there. We basically have a new post every day or two, I would
Mm,
say, and I do those personally, so I know.
oh, really?
And then yeah, and then the IG stories, we have a lot of those, and then of course
Wow.
our website, which doubles up as a web store, tarmacworks.com, so you can find us there. Tons of resellers like yourself in different
Mhm.
parts of the
Sure, sure.
world carry our cars as well. So do reach out to them for pre-ordering. One thing that we don't do ourselves is pre-ordering. We leave those to our beloved
Right, right, right.
resellers
Yeah,
to
definitely.
make. So
For sure.
we only sell what's in stock and has been released. So for pre-ordering, do go to all the resellers to get those.
Is there any toy shows or anything coming up overseas that you're going to be at this year?
We're joining a number of shows.
Oh,
Nothing
okay.
that we are kind of organizing ourselves. Not at least not confirmed
Right,
yet.
right,
But
right, right.
there's a show in Beijing in April that
Mhm.
we're kind of a part of, and then
Mhm.
one probably a big one would be in Japan in August. We're joining the Fuel Fest. So in August
Right.
11th, and at the
Mhm.
Fuji Speedway, so we'll have a booth set up there. There's a big
That's a good
toy
one.
show, the motor car show in Hong Kong in September. So we'll do that, and then
Man, so many stuff.
Macau Grand Prix, that is our sort of our
Oh,
home race in
mhm.
November. So yeah, a busy few months coming ahead, and then hopefully something. Um, we do want to do some stuff in other parts of the country and in the world as well. Oh, there's another as a car show in Taiwan. I think next week. I think so.
Mhm.
We our resell distributor has a big booth there as well. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, tons of things coming with COVID. The borders opening up, so
It's
we're
open,
trying to get
so
more active
everyone's
now.
coming up.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
That's right.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of things to look forward to this year. And it's just started. We're still
Yeah,
in
for
March
sure.
technically, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
That's
so
right.
awesome. Felix, man, thank you so much for joining me on this.
No,
I
thank you
think
for
maybe
having
we
me.
should do it again. We should definitely do it again sometime in the future, with some new
Anytime,
updates
anytime.
and
Thanks so
things
much.
like that. So, all right, Felix, thank you
Thanks for
so
all the
much, man.
videos that you have done, and thanks
Oh,
for
yeah,
having me again. So,
for sure. Absolutely. We'll see you next time.
okay, cool. Thanks. Have a good one.